So, welcome back to the Miss Adela Beauty Podcast, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly side of the beauty industry. Today, we're discussing the truth about skincare, what actually works, and what's just marketing. My expert guest with me today is Sue Crace, who's a skincare specialist, but also a business owner. With her help, we're going to break down skincare, the skincare claims versus reality, such as going into the ingredients, pricing, myths, and what genuinely delivers results. So, welcome, Sue. Why is this topic so close to your heart, and what brought you here to our podcast today?
Well, thank you so much, Adela. I've been a friend of yours for a while. Met you in Spain, and
Yeah.
have been following your Facebook group for a long time, and all of the things that you do in terms of makeup and skincare. Skincare is an absolute passion of mine. I got into it just 9 years ago,
Yeah.
and have not looked back. I had a career in education, and I think kind of when I found skincare that worked, it made me the teacher in me, if you like, made me want to research it a lot further, which is what I did, and ended up now I'm here as a business owner in the skincare world.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're on our podcast. I've wanted you to come on since the beginning because I know your passion for skincare, and I know that, there's one brand in particular you use, but you use quite a few over the years. So you know what's good, what's not. And we're going to get into that. But obviously, we're going to talk about what actually works. So, not particularly what brands work, but because of the ingredients and things like that. What's working, and what are we influenced into buying? Marketers are great and they get us to buy all kinds of things. So we don't really know what's true out there and what's just, fluff. And what are we actually putting on our faces? Certainly on the Facebook group, we get asked an awful lot of questions about, well, all this stuff you're putting on your face is just, damaging your face. It's aging you when it says anti-aging. And we get an awful lot of questions that has it been treated on animals beforehand? I mean, we don't know this stuff. For a start, the writing's about that big, so you can't see it anyway. And we've absolutely no idea, about what we're buying and what we're putting onto our skin. So what I wanted to ask first, because the marketing people out there really tend to move us towards expensive products more than cheaper products and say it's because it's got this, that, and the other in it. So are expensive products really any better?
That's a very interesting question, Adele, and that's something that I looked at very much when I started getting into skincare and doing my research. I think you have to look at what you're actually paying for. And when you're paying for a skincare brand or you're paying for your skincare, from my point of view, you're paying for three things, really. You're paying for the quality of the ingredients, you're paying for the expertise, and then you're paying for the packaging and the marketing.
Yeah.
So you need to consider all of those things. So what some of the things that will make your skincare more expensive is if you're looking at really, really good quality ingredients. So that is really key. You're looking for patented formulas of ingredients, not just, a little bit of this sort of thrown in. Higher concentration of active ingredients is going to always increase the cost of your products. And looking at kind of like sophisticated textures, those sorts of things, looking at ingredients that will give you a better texture, will give you a better experience, the feel of the product, the smell of the product. I think a lot of the time when we look at the ingredients that we're putting into products, in some of the cheaper brands, they're putting like a lower grade of active ingredients in there, which doesn't necessarily mean that the product's not going to work, but it probably won't work as precisely or as fast. So looking at things like the actives that are in your ingredients, the peptides, retinol, antioxidants, things like that. A good skincare brand will invest really, really highly in their expertise as well, because obviously there's a lot of people out there who claim to be science led, for example. It is really important that a brand of skincare would look at scientific research. Look at product development, look at the quality of the testing of products. You talked about products not being tested on animals. There are brands out there who claim that they don't test on animals, but there are some things that actually do test on animals, but it's just maybe something very, very small, but it doesn't actually get out there. So you do need to watch with that. And also looking at packaging of ingredients. Packaging can play quite a big role in the expense of an ingredient, particularly when you're looking at higher end skincare products where you've got some quite fragile ingredients. And fragile ingredients, for example, vitamin C, that products like that need to be really, really carefully packaged. They need to have packaging that's designed to protect them from the light, protect them from the air, and things like that. So, I mean, you know, don't underestimate the quality of the packaging of ingredients as well. So, really, yes, I would say that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the expertise. You're paying for the quality of the ingredients when you're looking at a brand that might be a little bit higher end and expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember buying my first really expensive, what I thought was expensive at the time, on a flight over to, I think I was going to Mexico, and I was in my mid-20s, something like that. And I remember buying this thinking, is it called La Mer? I think it's called La
Oh
Mer.
yes,
So yeah.
yes, yes.
And I mean, now it's, it's obviously gone up in price, but at the time it was really dear. I think I paid £100 for it. I was single, didn't have responsibilities, and I just thought, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. It smells delicious.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh wow, and when it went on so silky and
Mm.
everything else. But the price tag, you can't necessarily just keep forking out that. And I think it's
Mhm.
double that now, but you can't just keep forking out that kind of money. So I presume there are alternatives, but it's a minefield by the sounds of it. You've just mentioned a few things you've got to check. How do you check all of those things? How do you check on a brand and go, okay, they're kosher, they don't test on animals, they're using the right ingredients? Where do you go to check that?
Really, really difficult. And if you're in the skincare industry, you have more of an idea because obviously, as skincare professionals, we do look into brands and we do research brands. And for example, the CEO of the brand that I work alongside, she disseminates the information to us after she's been to actually been into the labs and spoken with the product designers, etc. But it is a very, very difficult thing for the general public to understand. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, there are some very key things. For example, there are some very key claims. Marketers are very, very clever, but marketing isn't always honest. So I think you need to be very, very mindful when you're looking not necessarily at the ingredients that are in there, because I think that's quite important, very important. Look at the ingredients, but when you're looking at the marketing claims. So, for example, someone will come out and say, in our brand, we only use fresh ingredients. Well, what does fresh mean? Okay, and I'll tell you what fresh means. Fresh means no preservatives, absolutely fresh, as though it was picked off the tree, okay, and come
And
out to you.
skincare
Now,
doesn't grow
and
on trees.
no, but lots of ingredients do. So
Right?
using fresh ingredients is a little bit different to say it, to saying, we use natural ingredients, for example, because
Oh,
if
okay.
something's fresh, actually legally it needs to be kept in the fridge. So if you're
Oh,
buying a product and it says this is a fresh product and it's saying just store it at room temperature, then it's not fresh.
right.
You know yourself, anything you buy in the supermarket that's fresh, you've got to keep in the fridge. Another
Yep.
example would be you quite often at the moment, lots of influencers and brands are using the term clean beauty. Okay, and you
Yes, I've
might have
heard that.
heard clean beauty everywhere. Well, interestingly, there is no legal or scientific definition of clean beauty. So what clean beauty means is whatever you whatever your perception of clean
Of
beauty
clean
is.
beauty is.
And, you know, so it's very, very difficult. The other one is medical grade. You know, we hear of lots of skincare brands. A lot of them are very, very expensive, and they will tell you that they're a medical grade brand. So you're thinking to yourself, great, excellent. I've got acne. I've got, you know, I've got all these concerns. I've got deep wrinkles. I'm going to go for something that's a medical grade brand. Well, interestingly, there's no official body that certifies a skincare product as being medical grade. So like it's a
Okay.
marketing term used to imply higher potency of ingredients, and in that way they can justify higher prices. So you do need to be very, very careful. Looking
Yeah.
at ingredients, for example, I would say would be the easiest thing really. But yeah, very difficult if you're not in the industry.
No, I understand that completely because I've heard all of that terminology, and like everybody else, been influenced by it. I mean, anti-aging now they don't use it as much because it's been so overused that
Mhm.
none of us believe it. You know,
No,
we've tried them all, and nothing will get rid of lines, whether they soften them or not. But nothing's going to get rid of them. So we've kind of caught on to the anti-aging, whether it was a scam or whether it's, you know, just a buzzword that's sort of fading now. But yeah, all the other words we sort of get lost with as well. Like you
mm,
say, clean beauty. I didn't even know what that meant, but it's your perception of it. That must mean it's good. And when you talked about certain brands, you know, used medically tested or whatever, there is a brand that I use quite a lot, and they say it's created by dermatologists. So if dermatologists are creating it, then it must be good. And then here in Spain, I went to a local chemist to buy something, and they have that brand there. And I said, "Oh, this was created by dermatologists, wasn't it?" And so it is good. I've been using it alongside many other products for years. And they said, "No, it's just so and so," and they gave another brand name, but just rebranded. It comes under the same umbrella as, and I think they
right.
mentioned one of the big major brands. And I thought,
Yes.
oh, you're kidding me. So really, they were just branching off so that they could
Hmm.
sell another product
Yeah.
under a different guise.
Hmm.
And I've never bought it since.
No, what I would say is that brands should be endorsed by, should be influenced by dermatologists, and you know, I mean, we as a brand use Swiss derma scientists, you know, in the creation of our brand,
Yeah.
but that doesn't make it a medical grade.
This is what I mean.
Yes.
You've got the perception that this is absolutely perfect. Then this has been passed by all chemists, all pharmacists, everybody, doctors even would recommend it. And I know in the US, you know, they can go to dermatologists and under their insurance, if they've got insurance, and talk about skincare, where it's a bit more difficult in the UK. You don't tend to see a dermatologist
No,
unless you
no.
pay for one. So, you know, if this is being as well sort of backed by doctors, you tend to believe it. So we've talked about ingredients a lot, but what out of all of those that you've mentioned, things that go in to making a skincare product, what are the ingredients that make a difference?
Well, there's a huge amount of ingredients that will make a difference to your skincare. Some of them you can buy as just as individual ingredients, and you will have seen, for example, serums that would say, you know, this is just hyaluronic acid, you know, and it's not, you know, for example, and they're all fantastic ingredients. What works personally, I think, is a mix of ingredients. Um, because, for example, let's just take serums as an example. You know, you could buy hyaluronic acid, for example, and I'll just use that as an example because hyaluronic acid would be one of those ingredients that I would say would make a real difference to your skin. Hyaluronic acid is very good for adding hydration to your skin. In
Right.
fact, the molecules of hyaluronic acid hold up to 1,000 times their weight in water, which is one of the reasons why, if, for example, you go and have something like microneedling, after microneedling, a good therapist will then put hyaluronic acid on your skin, and you will literally feel it drench that water into your skin. And what it
Really?
does is it plumps, it hydrates, it smooths the skin, improves the
Mm,
elasticity of your skin. It almost acts a bit like a sponge, if you like. So your skin is like a sponge and it's soaking all this hyaluronic acid up. And because it's then plumping the skin, whereas it's not taking the wrinkles away, the lines and wrinkles will diminish because of further
soften.
sort of plumped skin, and it will kind of strengthen your skin barrier as well. So
So,
a lot of the time you'll find hyaluronic acid or sodium hyaluronate, which is a salt of hyaluronic acid, included in serums, for example. I Unless I was, if I was going for microneedling, I would put pure hyaluronic acid on.
mm,
For every day, I would use a product that incorporates other ingredients as well, because you're not necessarily getting all the benefits to your skin that you might want to. So you want to add other ingredients in. So
okay.
that's why skincare companies will very carefully blend the ingredients to make sure you're getting the all round what you want for your skin. Yeah, hyaluronic acid, I would say big time. I would say retinol. You will have heard of retinol.
Definitely.
Retinol hugely in
I
these
don't
skincare.
understand the difference between retinol and retinol.
I-
I don't
Interest.
understand that.
Well, I mean that they both do a similar sort of thing. Okay, so they will both stimulate cell renewal, which is really, really important. They're actually a form of vitamin A, both of them, but the best way to describe it really is retinol works really, really well on the surface layer of your skin.
Okay.
Retinal, the molecules in retinal are a lot smaller, so they penetrate deeper into the skin. Okay, so you're working kind of at a lower layer with your retinal than your retinol. Um, there's been huge amount of testing with retinol and huge amount of success. Retinol is less tested and less,
Okay.
you know, we believe it's great, it's
It's
working underneath the skin, but it hasn't had the huge amount of testing that retinol has had. But I would say most of them would encourage collagen to enhance radiance of your skin. It will enhance the tone, the
yeah.
texture of your skin. Particularly good at night time, putting a retinol on at night time. But there's things you need to be careful of. Retinol is in a lot of serums. You need to be careful that you're not overdoing it with your retinol, because you can actually damage your skin barrier there.
So
So
not
you need
on
to
a
be careful.
nightly basis.
Well,
Maybe
no, I
spread
would
it
use it
out.
on, no, use it on a nightly basis, but always use it very sparingly.
Right.
I always encourage, I use a retinol serum. I always encourage people just to literally a dot on their hands, just pop it between their hands, and you literally just
Okay.
press it onto your skin. People often use too much. When you look at, for example, a retinol serum in your skincare regime, it's going to be a really small bottle, and
Yeah.
it's probably going to be the most expensive thing that you buy.
Yeah.
Look at the size of the bottle. That gives you a clue. You shouldn't be using loads of it.
Bit like your
And
eye cream and things like that.
yes.
That always
Oh,
comes in a tiny thing.
yeah,
So it means
yeah.
you only need to dab on a little bit. 'Cause
Well,
that's a very
interesting.
sensitive area, isn't
Well,
it?
the skin around your eyes is actually about 14 times thinner than the skin around the rest of your face, which is one of the reasons why we start to get crow's feet quite
Yes.
early. Because obviously, if your skin's a bit thinner, it's not going to have as much collagen in it to start with.
Yeah.
So as that collagen diminishes, and we believe that you lose about 1% of collagen every year after the age of around 20. You can stimulate the collagen, you can boost it, but so as that degenerates,
Yeah.
obviously you're going to find that your skin's less plump and you're going to see more lines around your skin. Now, one of the problems with eyes as well is people tend to use too much rich product around the eyes, and that can
Okay.
be really, really bad for the skin around the eyes. Like, you can't take it. So a lot of people will use their normal daily moisturizer around the eyes. If
Oh,
that's rich, well, all you're doing is you're clogging up the area around here, and it
okay.
can lead to toxins, it can lead to dark circles, can lead to puffiness around the eye, which is why eye creams are particularly made with tiny little molecules. And you'll find that eye creams are often quite light and they will
Okay.
absorb into that area. But again, using a tiny amount on the ring fingers is a really good
And
idea.
dabbing it
You
in
can even overdo
rather
it with
than
eye cream. Don't think don't think more is better.
Yeah, you know what? It's so strange you say that because one of the ladies I was speaking to just a couple of weeks ago on one of my podcasts, she said to me, with products, be very careful. Obviously, what you've said, if it comes in a small package, it's because you don't need much of it. But also, you don't necessarily need to make it a ritual every night that you do this, and this. Because I've got a huge amount of products, and also on the Facebook page, people come on and say,
Yeah.
I am completely overwhelmed with skincare. Where do I start? Is it the hyaluronic acid? And then what do I put on after that? And then what? And then people come on and they've got like 8 products, and then 8 for the morning, or 5 or 6. And I just think, I've got that. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. And this lady actually explained, try not putting as many on and see what happens the next day to your face. Give your face a little bit of a break, because what's really important is that it's clean, so a good cleanser,
Yeah.
and that it's moisturized, that it's got plenty of moisture in it. But all the other things, if you're using them on a constant daily and evening, AM and PM basis, can affect your skin. It depends on your skin too. So I stopped sort of using around my eyes, because what I was putting on my eyes, Sue, I was also putting here, for some reason. Somebody must have told me at some point that put it
Top lip.
here as well.
Top lip.
Oh,
You
that
get
was
lots of
it.
little tiny lines on your top lip.
Yeah.
And actually your eye cream can be very good for that.
Yeah. So I do that. And then I was noticing in the mornings as well that it was getting a bit red here. Now, I know that probably does that with age anyway. It gets a bit thinner, it gets a bit red. You start to get a bit uneven skin tone and whatnot. And I thought it's getting a bit red here. So I just sort of pulled back a little bit on the putting it everywhere and started using it a bit more sparingly. And I noticed it was less red. So, like you say, I think, you can probably do too much, but
Overdo it.
you can put too much on as well. And going back to the retinol, I started using that because I heard it was so good, and I started using it every night, and I thought my skin's going to be amazing. And then suddenly it was getting drier than normal. And I thought, pull back a down, And then when I looked it up, I'd check everything with AI.
Yeah.
Everything. I double check it with AI. I call Chat GPT. I call it
Yes.
Chippy.
Yeah.
And if anybody
Yes.
anybody listening from the UK, or if you're not from the UK, you might not quite get what we're talking about here. But Chippy tea is like a Friday ritual. We go
Yeah.
out for a Chippy tea, which is fish and chips, traditional fish and chips from the UK. So I call Chat Chippy tea, because it's just easier
Nice.
to say.
Like it.
I check everything with that, and once that comes back, not that it's always accurate, of course, but once that comes back, and there are other AIs out there, once that comes back, then and gives me an answer, it's usually just pull back a little bit, or put less on or
Yeah.
whatnot.
But
So, like you
you're
say,
right. People do get very, very overwhelmed with the amount of products that are out there,
yeah,
which is one of the reasons really why I enjoy doing what I do, which is I actually educate people in the order of products that they need to use, which
yeah,
products they need to use daily, which products are better, restricted to maybe a special occasion, other products that you might want to use just as a weekly boost. And
yeah,
I think that's quite it's quite a good thing to do, and it's something that we do both online and in person with people. And yeah, I mean, someone said to me, well, people are always saying to me, so what for you is a good basic skincare regime?
yeah, go for it.
What
We
do
all
you
want to
do?
know.
Well, I mean, I can only speak from my own personal experience,
Yeah.
and obviously I have a whole wealth of products in my house. But for me, a good cleanse, first and foremost, a really good cleanser. Um, and you can get beautiful cleansers out there on the market now that are really, really hydrating as well as cleansing.
Yeah.
Find something that works for you. For some people, that's just, for some people who are not really very good at actually doing the whole skincare. It may just be something you can just grab in the shower and just use very quickly in the shower.
Okay.
For me, I would tend to use an oil-based cleanser because
Right.
that kind of works for me. So I would say cleanse, tone. People miss out the toning, okay, because they don't know what it does.
So
Okay.
is that the one that closes? Because I've used it all my life and not really wondered why. I've just taken, I've just taken the
Yeah.
advice that, yeah, it closes your pores. So
Well,
just use it.
Well,
Is
that's
that
a bit of
right?
a it's a bit of a myth that
We're coming on to
closes that
myths in a
yes, it
second.
is a bit of a myth that toner will close your pores because actually physically our pores can't close.
No.
Our pores are always open. Okay, so what a toner doesn't close your pores. What it will do is it will refine your pores. It will give you like a secondary cleanse. So where you've used your cleanser, using a toner over the top will just literally remove any last traces of cleanser that you want to
I
remove.
see.
And also, it acts as a really great product for allowing your serum to absorb into your skin. Now, there's a minefield on toners. Lots do other things as well. You can get exfoliating toners. You can get some with acids in them. You can get milky toners. But just a general toner will allow your serum to absorb. So I'd say cleanse, tone, use a serum because that will treat your skin, and use a
But what's
good.
the serum? I mean, you look, like I say, you go whether you buy your
Mm.
products in a supermarket or in a big store somewhere or online, or from a friend, and whatever you do to get your skincare, there's so many
Yeah.
serums and moisturizers. So what's a serum doing, and why do we need it in our daily? And is it just for AM or is it AM and PM?
I would always use a serum AM and PM. I tend to use a different one in the morning to in the evening, purely because, like you said, I don't want to put lots of retinol all over my skin all day. I use one with a little bit of retinol in the evening, and I use one with some vitamin C in the morning. Now, serum, basically, the molecules of a serum are tiny because they need to absorb into the skin, and they treat the baby skin cells. So those baby skin cells take about 28 days to come to the top, and you want them to be in tip-top condition. Now, when
Right.
you're buying serums, it's important not to just think to yourself, "Oh, I've watched an advert, or I've watched a podcast, or I've seen it on TikTok. Here's a great serum," and just use it without even realizing what it does.
Yeah.
You need to be a bit more benefit led with your skincare, and we're very much into sort of being benefit led, which means look at the benefit you want for your skin. So if you're looking at your skin and you're thinking, okay, so my skin is a little bit dull, it's a little bit, I get a little bit of pigmentation, I get a few age spots. What's going to be the best serum for me? And I would straight away turn around and say to you, look for something that's high in vitamin C, because vitamin C will brighten your skin. It will reduce
Okay.
pigmentation. It promotes collagen production as well.
Yeah.
But also, if you're somebody that's going to go out into the sun as well, it's probably why you've got some of the pigmentation. Vitamin C can actually defend against UV rays, so it will boost the effectiveness of your sunscreen as well. So actually, already you're seeing, well, actually, if that's the benefit I want, and that's what that product does, you're marrying the two of them together. And it may be you want something for firming the skin, it may be you want something for strengthening the skin, or you want something for particular skin concerns, like if you're suffering with acne scarring or something like that, you'd
Yeah.
maybe want to look at a different type of serum.
So I've got a good question for you then. So you've more or less said what you definitely need in your skincare, depending on your needs, but
Mhm.
obviously cleanse your skin to get all the grime off, and then hyaluronic acid, or you mentioned toner.
I'd
That's
say
what you
cleanse,
mentioned.
tone,
Cleanse,
serum,
tone.
moisturize, ideally with the sunscreen.
Yes, right. So my question is, like you can get a multivitamin, and it's because you need vitamin D and you need vitamin A, and then suddenly you need vitamin C and you need omega-3, and you think I'm overwhelmed as well by vitamins.
Yeah.
Again, a multi-billion dollar industry. Is there something you mentioned that sometimes you have a sunscreen and a moisturizer all in one? Is there something that has a few things, like a few ingredients, and you can sort of skip a couple of products because you've got a few in one?
Well, the majority of skincare, when you look at the majority of skincare products, you will find that the majority of them will contain vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. Okay, they're the three key vitamins that tend to be in skincare, and you'll
Right.
find a lot of brands contain all three of those in their products. Um, I would say, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Well, like you can buy a multivitamin if you're taking
Yeah,
vitamins. Can you
yeah,
buy a skincare product
mm,
that's sort of
yeah.
got a few, so
Yeah.
you can skip
Yeah.
out
So yes, so
maybe
they do, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that you could skip out the steps, because what the vitamins, you've got the vitamin, you're not just looking for vitamins, are you? So actually you couldn't skip a cleanser because your skin wouldn't be clean. Okay.
yeah,
Your toner does a different job. So your toner prepares for your
yeah,
serum. Your serum will treat the skin, and then you want to hydrate the skin.
yeah.
So it's not really about finding one product that will do all of that, because you can't possibly do all of that in
Yeah,
one. So
they've all got their
actually,
own.
ideally, and if you had to take it down to two, take it to a cleanser and a moisturizer with SPF.
I was going to ask that because we're all on a budget, a certain budget. And if you're particularly wanting to keep your budget as low as possible, I was just about to say, are there just two products that are really important? Because I know
Yeah.
that cleansing's got to be one of them, right?
Yeah.
We've all heard our mother's stories and grandmother's stories
Mm,
about they used to wash the face with
yeah.
soap in the
Yeah.
shower. So we all know that we've all cleansed, we've all tried to get our
Mm.
makeup off. We know we need to do that, but what was the other? And it's obviously
Yeah, yeah.
moisturizer. So
So buy yourself a
if you're on
cleanser
a
that will
budget,
also remove your eye makeup.
yes,
And I would recommend an oil-based product, like an oil-based balm, as long
yeah,
as you've not got lashes, because if you've got lashes, the oil will dissolve the glue. So if you've not got lashes, go for a good oil-based cleansing balm, and then go for a good SPF moisturizer. But do be very aware that a lot of moisturizers contain SPF, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're using it every day, just for on a normal day, that's fine. If you're using it as your sunscreen, reapply it regularly,
because it's not
because
enough.
no. But if you do, I mean, you can use all sorts of sunscreens on your face, but if you're using one that's actually a good quality moisturizer as well, it's going to do the two in one.
Yeah. Just as a quick question, I know we're sort of sticking on this for a while, but it's really important because I've just never known the answer to this. With an SPF, if you're using a separate one, not with your moisturizer, so
Yeah.
your moisturizer has no SPF, it's got no sun protection in it at all. Are you
Mhm.
supposed to put your SPF on before the moisturizer or after? Are you supposed to put it on before makeup or after? When does it come into the place? What is it, the last thing you do, or where does it come in?
Always the last thing you do. Put your
Is it
SPF on last.
right?
Any moisturizers put on first, and pop your SPF on at the end. And always, while we're on the subject of SPFs, all good brands should have SPFs that are broad spectrum. And by broad spectrum, I mean that they protect you against the UVA and the UVB rays. In the past, sometimes they've only done one or the other, and tended
I've
to be
heard
the
that.
UVB rays. But what we know is that there's two rays that can damage us, both that can cause cancer. The UVB rays are the ones that people think about when they're out sunbathing, or when they're out on a hot day, because they're the ones that burn you. That you can feel the UVB rays,
Okay,
you can
got
feel
you.
them on your skin. So if you just remember B for burning, whereas
Right.
the UVA rays are the ones that age you. So you can remember A for aging. Okay,
Oh,
so
thank
and
you.
those UV
Hallelujah.
those UVA rays you can't necessarily feel, but they're there. They're there on cloudy days. They're there, they're there all of the time. So
Okay.
really, we should be using sunscreen all of the time. Whether that's a moisturizer with SPF, just pop it on at the beginning of the day, on a normal day, but then reapply it on a hotter day. And a lot more brands now are incorporating a product that will protect you against blue light as well as the UVA, UVB. And if you look on the spectrum, at kind of ultraviolet light. Sitting right next to ultraviolet light is blue light, and this is what we get from screens, from
That's what
phones,
keeps you awake
from
at night.
yeah, all of that, all of that. And actually, if you look at all the
And that affects your
research,
skin.
it does. If you look at all the research and look at, you've probably seen research of people who've had skin damage where they've put it under UV light and you can see where all the damage
That's
is.
right.
Have a look. If you Google it, you'll see that for blue light as
Oh,
well.
I
It's not
don't
to the
think.
same. It's not to the same extent. I think it's about. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's about 20%. Would that in relation to what the UV does, but certainly this is damaging our skin as well. So teaching our
So are we supposed to put?
young people, teaching our children to use SPF, it's super important.
So even if you're indoors and you're just looking at your screen all
Yeah,
day, I mean,
yeah, it's constantly emitting a blue light.
oh, again, another hallelujah moment here. I would never have known that in a million years. And I'm
So
so
have a
glad
look
you've
on your
said it, because
sunscreen.
we're all looking at our screens all the time. I mean, you are like me. We work off our phones, don't we? We're on our
Yeah,
phones all the time, doing
yeah,
things, arranging things,
yeah.
checking things. It's our business as well. It's our phone.
Yes. And
It's our
going just,
whole
yeah.
life.
And just going back to your very first question about, is it worth paying more money for skincare? That would be an example of, ingredients that go into a product to protect you in an additional way that you wouldn't
Right.
necessarily find in a cheaper brand. So, yes, interesting, isn't it?
It's really
The more
interesting.
you
I
look, the
mean,
more you research, it's a minefield.
so we could have just done a whole podcast just on that alone, just the ingredients,
Couldn't
and
we?
yeah, it's been an eye opener. So we did sort of touch on myths there, and in your opinion, what's the biggest skincare myth that's going around right now?
Well, I go out a lot and do education for people on skincare, and very often people will say, for example, last night I did an experience for 8 people. It was 4 ladies and 4 between 11 and 12-year-old girls. I say the same thing all the time. Children and teenagers do not need a complicated skincare regime.
No.
Absolute myth. And that is a marketing myth. They see it on YouTube, on TikTok, everywhere, that they're being exposed to these products that they think they need. And it's really nice to be able to actually educate them a little bit in these sessions that I do. And I talk to them about the fact that actually they can't see it, but their skin is much thinner, it's more fragile, it's more sensitive. And as a child, as an early teenager, you've got a faster cell turnover in your skin, and you're going to be more vulnerable to irritants on your skin. I say to them, okay, a bit like we've just said, cleanse your skin, moisturize your skin,
That's
use an
it.
SPF. That's all you need. They will argue with me. They'll say, "Oh, I've got 6 serums at home. I've got this, that, and the other." But like I was saying to these girls last night, the products that you've got, you need to be careful because they may have high levels of actives. They could strip your skin barrier. You won't see it at the moment, but you'll see it later on. They
Yeah.
can cause sensitivity long term. They can encourage breakouts and, rashes, allergies and things. And,
Acne, make their
and
acne worse even.
yeah, and what I do with all the girls that I see is I say to them, look, I'm now trying to reverse what I've done, the damage I've done with my skin. When as a younger person, I didn't use SPF. I would never go without it now, and I show them the pigmentation that's on my skin that I'm trying to reverse. And and I say
Is it
to them,
reversible?
when I was you can do things to make it better. You can
Right.
definitely do things to make it better.
Yeah.
And I'm using a lot of vitamin C on my skin and noticing a huge difference.
Oh.
But I think sometimes when they actually see it, I mean, they probably just think I'm a really old lady and they're never going to get that old anyway. But
We don't.
you,
We never think we're going to age at that
no,
age.
we don't.
So
But it is a myth. Everything that's going out there marketing wise, that's telling young girls and boys that they need all of these things, it's just ridiculous.
making a fortune out of them, aren't they? Where do they get the
Yeah,
money from anyway, these youngsters?
I know.
How much of skincare is actually marketing versus the science? You touched on this before, and you said not many are science backed. So I presume marketing is 80% science,
Well,
20. I mean, what?
it depends. I mean, you want to look. I mean, we invest heavily in the expertise. Heavily in the expertise, and less so on the marketing. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't even have shops, which kind of like cuts down on the marketing. But
yeah,
really, I think you've got to look at companies for what their core values are. And again, as a consumer, that's very, very difficult, because obviously you've got huge skincare companies out there who have got a budget for marketing, and you can't compare them with a smaller company that hasn't, because it's about the percentage they use. And I can't speak for any other brands, but as a brand, we invest most of our budget on the quality of ingredients and the expertise. And the marketing has to come below that.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you
And
need the
that's
marketing,
that's
otherwise no
that's
one
how
will
it
buy
should be.
it. But I do think with marketing, more companies should be more about the experience and getting people to experience products. I think that's why it's quite good if you go to a spa. You may have seen some marketing, but you can actually try it.
That's right.
And since COVID, we haven't really been able to go and have samples in shops and things anymore. So
Yeah.
you are very much relying on what you see. But I would say, if there's any way that any of your listeners can get out there and actually try products on their skin, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because all we see is influencers now. We just look at social media. We don't even go out to shops very much anymore, do we?
No,
So we look at social media and we see, a pretty girl with lovely skin, and we don't think filter, because there might not be a filter. There might be a filter. We don't know.
probably been
When you
AI generated.
AI generated, even. I know there are some, yeah, definitely AI created influencers. But some are, people we know, whether it's from Love Island or some reality TV show. But they're all biased recommendations, because they're making a cut out of this. So of course
Yeah,
they're going to say this is the best
yeah.
moisturizer I've ever tried in my life. But then 2 weeks later they're trying another moisturizer. So we
And skincare is
are,
about you and your
yeah,
skin, not about anybody else's skin.
no,
And I think skincare, sometimes I think it's it's obviously it's about, the performance on your skin, but it's about the experience that you get when you use your skincare. Do you love the texture? Do you love the feel? Do you love how it feels afterwards? Do you love
yeah.
how it looks afterwards? And how can you tell that unless you've experienced it?
Exactly. And this is why we try a product and then we move on and try another and try another. I personally love it when it smells good. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that attracts me a lot. If it doesn't have a smell at all, or it doesn't smell good, that'll be the last time I use
Yes.
it. Now, whether that's right or wrong, our senses, it's very important that our senses are, are met. We
Yes.
love a lovely smell. If we smell a
Mhm.
lovely rose, we love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Textures as well.
Textures,
Textures are
how it
very important.
feels.
Yeah.
So it is all really important. So I just wanted to ask, as a last question, because you've mentioned this already, but just to reiterate, what does a simple, effective routine look like? So I know you're going over all ground here, but just in case anybody missed that part
Mhm.
and they just want to know, like, most of our ladies on the first face group ask a lot. What do I do AM, PM? Tell
Mhm.
me what to do. Over to you.
Well, lots of people will tell you different, but I personally cleanse, tone. I use a serum, different for the morning and the evening, personally. And then I moisturize my skin. You know, I use an eye cream occasionally. I wouldn't say I'm regimental at using an eye cream. Lots of people are, but just the power of four: cleansing, toning, serum, treating, and hydrating.
Yeah. And then the SPF, if you can
The
get
SPF,
an
yeah. I
SPF
would use
in
an
the
SPF within
hydrator.
it. Yes, yeah, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to start doing the SPF within the moisturizer, but like you said, you still
Yeah.
need a separate one, really, don't you?
And it takes less than 5 minutes, literally less than 5 minutes. And my top tip would be, because people who say, oh no, it's too much of a faff, have all of your products where you're going to do it. I always use like a hot flannel to remove my cleanser. So I do my my regime in the bathroom. Right next to the sink are my 4 products and a stack of flannels. I use a flannel, and after I've used it, the laundry basket is right there. It goes straight in the laundry basket. Just make it simple for yourself.
And what's the flannel for? I mean, you said hot flannel.
Yeah.
What's that
Or a
doing?
warm. So yeah, so some people will swear by just using the little cotton pads to remove their cleanser. I
Yeah.
would always remove my cleanser with a warm cloth. Okay, because if you're just using little cotton pads or something like that, you're leaving a residue of that product on your skin. And if you think about it, when you massage your cleanser into your skin, what you're doing is dislodging all the congestion, all of the debris that's in your skin, all of the makeup, and then by removing it with a cloth, be that a flannel, be that a muslin cloth, you're actually removing all of the dirt that comes off with your cleanser as well. Get rid of that whole cleanser. It's one reason I don't like makeup wipes, because using makeup wipes, whilst it might remove some of the dirt, some of the makeup, it will still leave a residue on your skin because you're not actually removing that.
I've noticed that. I used to use them all the time. And
Yeah.
obviously we got
They're
the
great for
message as well about
convenience.
they're great for convenience. I take them away when I go on holiday, but obviously you get the message from the environment as well. Don't use those kind of things because they end up going down the toilet and being flushed down the
Yeah.
toilet or whatever. So, I used to use them, but I found they were getting a bit harsh as well on my eyes and pulling a little bit as the skin's got loose. So or looser. So yeah, that's been wonderful. Well, I've got a couple of your products here actually, because
Oh,
I've been a fan,
I
and
do.
you introduced this to me last time I saw you,
Oh, I'm excited to
and
see what it is.
it's the
Oh,
and I absolutely adore the smell. It's the Temple Spa Easy Glowing Cleansing Gel.
yeah.
Like you said, if you're going to use a cleanser, like I used to use the foam cleanser and I found it like did nothing and just dried my skin
Yeah.
out. And you said, use gels where you can. And that's a gel, but I absolutely adore the smell. And
Oh,
it
I
really,
knew you would like the smell of that. It's very citrus, very orange, isn't it?
oh, it's
Because of the vitamin C.
absolutely delightful. So I use it morning and evening to take off the grime of the night or of the makeup. And it really is. And I use the whole warm water thing with it as well. But like you say, and if I
It's good
don't
because
have
it's
time,
actually a transforming gel. So it's a transforming cleanser. So it starts as a gel and you
and then you
pop it
get
on
it
your skin. When
milky.
you add water with it, it
Yeah.
turns into a milk.
Well, that's what you taught us. I remember
Yes.
you showing us how to use this, and
Yeah,
then
it's
it turns
amazing.
into milk. And then the other one is the one I recently got from you, which is the Temple Spa Skin Truffle. So a
Yes.
little bit dearer than the other moisturizers, but I thought I'd try it. And like you said, a little goes a long way. So I started to use just a little, thinking it's not going to go a long way. And then,
No.
it does. But I was starting to put it on, sort of, my skin was still wet from, this is another thing you've got to be careful of. You've got to let each product dry, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're in a rush, you tend to think, well, the hyaluronic acid's still there, it's still a bit wet, and then you put another product on. It's probably erasing what you've just used. So you've got to let each
You
product
do.
dry, don't you?
Yeah. And make sure you're
And
not using too much, because if you use too much, it's not going to dry as quickly.
there you
These
go.
products shouldn't take ages to dry. They should just absorb into your skin, and
They
within a
do.
few seconds it should,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good thing, because I've often thought I'm like this. I'm
Yes, yeah, yeah.
wafting my
Wafting your
face
skin,
because
yeah,
I'm in a rush and I'm thinking I want to put the
yeah,
next product on. I'm
yeah,
trying to dry my face. At one point I nearly got a hairdryer out, and it
yeah.
obviously meant I put too much product on. So thank you very much for that. In future, I'll know. I've picked up loads of tips today, and I'm sure for all the people listening, they've picked up loads too. You've been a brilliant guest, Sue.
I've loved
And
it.
I really appreciate you coming on today. And I know you're going to send us your details. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you or wants to know more, because obviously you're a fountain of knowledge. So anybody who wants to ask questions, get in touch, find out more about, you and your products and things like that, then at the end of the podcast, we'll have all your details up there, so they can find out more. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I've really, really enjoyed my time with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person again as soon as possible.
Yes, and when's that going to be? Hopefully soon.
July.
All right.
Yes.
So I'll see you in July, and I'll speak
bring
to
me
you before.
products.
Oh yes, please. Thank you.
I will.
I want another spa day.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Sue Crace. Thanks for being with us. I've enjoyed every minute.